Hello and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's live rant, rave, and breakdown of the big dumpster fire, otherwise known as Star Trek Picard Season 2. I am joined here, of course, as always, by my sister Alyssa. Now, Alyssa, I saw your announcement video where you questioned my use of the word breakdowns. Like, how are we gonna break? How can you break down gobbledygook? That maybe we'll have a breakdown. I'm sure that's what happened then. But what I kind of meant was that we're gonna break down just how much this season sucks. Because, or maybe more of tear it apart might have been a better term. But anyway.
I thought more it was like we were going to have a breakdown from
talking
about it. Like we're going to have an emotional breakdown because we can't handle it anymore. That's what I was thinking. But
yeah,
okay,
no,
that makes
too,
sense.
that
makes sense too. Hello, everyone. So I'm actually Alyssa's great granddaughter because, as we know, all ancestors and descendants look exactly the same. So I learned this from Star Trek. So I'm Alyssa's great granddaughter who's traveled back in time, and I look exactly like her because that's how it works.
You know, and so I'm going to come here and I'm going to be really pissed off and I'm going to treat you like shit and be like, this is horrible. This is a penance. And then at the end, I'm just going to be like, oh, I just want a hug. That's why I'm doing all this, because I want a hug. All right, so I guess we can give an overview of the season. I think everyone pretty much knows what we think of it. I want to keep it short though, because if we try to explain everything wrong with this season, it would be talking for like a half an hour each. but basically, none of the characters were relatable. None of the storylines made any sense. I just watched a video which really, to me, it really summarized the issue with Picard Season 2, because they showed a chart. Like most stories, movies will have a plot line. We go point A to point B to point C to point D, and some will go in different weird directions. You go point A to point A1 and then back to point B, which is fine too. But for the chart of Picard, they just showed different points floating alone with no lines connecting them. They're just out there, like all this shit just happens. There's no sequential order, and I think that pretty much sums up Picard Season 2 for me. Anyway.
For me, I think Steve Shives had a very good quote a couple weeks ago, where he said if he was a college professor and one of his writing students turned in Season 2 of Picard, he would give it back to them and make them do it over. So not even fail them. Like, it's not even worth a failing grade, because it's not even worth grading. It would just be more like, and I'm adding this here, this is not what he said, but it would be like, okay, so you are a college level writing student, you can do better than this. Come on. This is garbage. Do it over again. And never mind professional writers. And I really wish there was some college professor or somebody above them, some executive, Alex Kurtzman, I don't care who took that script and go, you're professional writers. What is this? And made them do it over again from scratch. Just do a completely different story, because it's garbage. I think this is some of the worst writing I have seen. If not on any television show, it's up as one of the worst, and probably the worst writing in Star Trek. So yeah, that would be if you want me to sum it up quickly, that's the quick way to sum it up. Is it's some of the worst writing I have ever seen, and we can get into some more details.
I definitely will say to say it felt like, I think pretty much what you just said, but another way I would put it is, this is the first draft, and I would like to know the behind the scenes. What happened behind the scenes with the writer, because I do wonder if there was this deadline and something happened where they kept changing their mind, they kept procrastinating, kept putting it off, and all of a sudden, oh fuck, we don't have a day to get the finished script done. Oh, get it done right. And it was like, all right, that's all the time. We have to just shoot this first draft because we don't have time to mess anything. That's what it seemed like for me.
Yeah, I feel like, I'm going to be perfectly honest, I feel like I could write a first draft better than that. A professional writer should be able to write a first draft better than that. I don't even think it's first draft quality, if I'm being perfectly honest with you.
So yeah, no, I agree. I wonder if there must be some kind of interference where someone wrote a decent first draft, but another person came, no, let's put all these notes, and they didn't incorporate them correctly, and they just threw it in. I don't know. I just trying to speculate how this could have happened.
I have no idea. I can't understand how a group of professionals could produce this. I just don't. I don't understand it. I don't think that they're bad people or necessarily bad writers. I'm sure that some of these writers will probably go on to write good things. I'm sure, but I don't want to judge them as being just generally bad writers. I'm just saying this particular product that they produced is garbage.
I mean, well, that's the thing. This is something I've heard someone else point out, is that many of the same writers who worked on the season also worked on Strange New Worlds. And, and so far, if the first episode is any indication, it's really hard to believe how this could be the same writers could produce this and then that. There seems to be a huge disconnect.
Yeah.
But one other thing that I heard I wanted to point out is, and I looked this up, apparently there was a writer who wrote the first 2 episodes. I'm trying to look it up. His name is Terry Matalas, who worked on, he wrote a couple episodes for season 3 of Enterprise, and he's worked on other shows since then. And apparently he was mainly responsible. He has a credit for the first 2 episodes, but apparently I heard he was mainly responsible for the first 2 episodes, but then left everyone else to figure out the rest of the season. And I could kind of see that, because here's the thing. I think if there's someone was to redo season 2 of Picard to make it a good season, or at least make it comprehensible, make it acceptable, you could probably keep those 2 episodes exactly the same, the first 2, and just rewrite the next 8 to actually fit with them and make sense. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true, but I also think that if the original writer left at the first 2 episodes, why do you have to keep his story? Just do something different. I think that would have been totally fine. Maybe they were on a deadline or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that maybe it could have been better if that guy had written the whole thing. But I also think since he did leave, why don't you just do a different one? I don't know. Trying to figure out what he was going for.
Now, okay, so then one of the big questions I wanted to ask is, I noticed from your reviews for the earlier episodes, you were a bit more positive on this season than I was. And even episode 9, you kind of gave a 5 out of 10. Do you now sort of change your mind about that, or?
Yeah, no, I retroactively give them all lower scores. Yes, I do. It's funny because you actually gave episode 1 a higher score than I did.
Oh,
gave it
yeah,
an 8.
that's
You
right.
gave it like a 9 or a 10.
Yeah.
And I didn't think it was that great. But no, I would probably retroactively give them all 3 or lower. I mean, pretty easily. Yeah.
I mean, I still maintain that episode 1 by itself in a vacuum is a good episode, and if it had different episodes that took the story somewhere, it could still be considered good. But because the rest of the season concluded the way it did, I had to automatically downgrade it because it sets up for crap.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Episode 1 would probably be like a 6 or something, but the rest of them I think would be low retroactively.
Yeah. Now here's one of the things that I'm thinking of that is an issue with this season. Now, if I don't think fixing this would fix the season entirely because there's too much wrong with it, but I think it would fix one of the core issues with it, is that I feel like this should have been season 3 of Picard. That there should have been a different season in between the 2 seasons. That too much happened off screen. Mainly having to do with the character stories, building the relationship between Raffi and Elnor, building relationship between 709 and Raffi, building Picard and maybe even Q's relationship, but Picard's like backstory with his mother. It seems like that too much of the season, too much of what happened in the season happened off screen, and also Rios's character, like there seemed to be like I had no connection with any of these fucking characters because they relied too much on shit that happened off screen.
And Laris's husband, dying, that could have happened on screen. Yeah, I think that would be a good starting point. I think if you do that and then still, as you said, like it doesn't fix everything. Like I still think you need to maybe write a better season, but I think that would have helped me to relate it to the characters a lot more, the character relationships a lot more if they had done that. Because we end season 1 when they're all off in the La Sorrenta and Picard goes engaged and like, oh, they're flying off together. And then all of a sudden it's a couple of years later and all this stuff has happened off screen. And I'm sorry, but I just could not really buy the Raffi and Elnor bond, like Raffi being so sad because she was such a mentor to Elnor. No, she wasn't. I never saw that. That was some off screen somewhere. And the Raffi and Seven relationship, I wanted to like it, but I needed to see it on screen. So, I think that could have helped it. I still think, obviously, there's many, many more issues.
A lot more issues.
But I think that would be a good starting point. Yeah.
Yes. To me, that was the core of my issues with it, though, is that I couldn't relate to any of the characters, not Rios, not even established characters like Picard and 709. I felt like I didn't really know who they were and had no connection to their journeys.
Well, it doesn't fix the issue of not relating to any of the new characters either. They still would have to fix that.
Those new characters, they didn't even fucking try. They just threw them in like
No, well, as I've said in some of my reviews, they were trying to trick us by casting familiar actors to play these characters. Like, oh, look, it's Brent Spiner. You care about this character. Oh, look, it's Issa Brones. You care about this character. And then they really tried to pull a fast one on us with Laris and Talon and go, oh, see, now this is Picard's love interest. Laris, even though she had a husband last season, now she's his love interest, so you care about her. But wait, she's not actually going to be in this season. We're going to have this other character that looks exactly like her, and you have to care about her because you care about this Laris, so you care about these characters. No, that's they didn't bother trying to develop them, give them a personality, give them motivations, give us any reason at all to give a shit about these characters. They just like, oh, here's a familiar actor, care about them. That's all they did. It's so terrible.
Norman Buckwald in the chat says, can anyone see Raffi or Rios as a Starfleet officers? Only briefly in episode 1. And I agree, like they came off as Starfleet officers in episode 1, but not anything after that. After that, they were just, I couldn't buy them as Starfleet officers.
No, they were just back to how they were in season 1 when they Starfleet officers.
And let's see what else. Oh yeah, Norman also says no more Soongs, please, no more Soongs in this series. Well, I got bad news for you. Brent Spiner is confirmed for season 3, and he has stated definitively that he never wants to play Data again. So guess who he's going to be playing? Another fucking Soong, probably the one who was in season 1.
Didn't he die? The one in season 1?
No, he didn't die. As far as I know. Yeah.
Oh, then that's who will play then.
Yeah.
We'll be playing him. Well, no one knew Soongs. I think. I mean that the cat is already out of the bag with that one. He already exists. So if you want to bring him back to give Brett Spiner something to do, whatever. But no more new Soongs.
But that character sucked too. That
character did suck.
Season 1, but this Adam Soong was like way worse. Like he's, I would say, one of the worst characters in the entire Star Trek franchise. Like he is, we always complain about Osira, or whatever her name is from season 3 of Discovery, being a two-dimensional flat mustache twirly villain, but this Adam Soong tops it. Like
Yeah, he had no character, no personality. He was just the most mustache twirly villain I have ever seen. And again, they were trying to make you trick you by going, "Oh, look, it's Brent Spiner. Isn't he great?" So you love this character. This is a great villain because it's Brent Spiner. No, it takes a lot more than that. You actually have to give him a motivation and have to give him some kind of depth to his character, something, anything other than.
I know it's funny because they started out making him somewhat relatable, but like they threw that storyline out of nowhere, so it still wasn't completely relatable. But it's like, okay, he's worried about his daughter, but then they make a hard turn of like this evil genius. And here's another. I'm gonna got so many nitpicks going forever, but here's another thing. Like at the start of the first episode, he was introduced. He was like a hack and nobody. He's getting kicked out of everything, and at the end of the season, he's like this rich billionaire. Everyone's like bending to. I'm like, well, which fucking is it? Like I don't get it. It can't be consistent at all.
No, there's no consistency. Are we ready to talk about Q yet? Can we talk about the whole Q fiasco yet, or did you have an order of things that you want?
No, I didn't. I'm just blurting out the top of my head. You go ahead and talk about Q.
Okay, walk me through Q's story. Okay, help me, help me, help you. So, okay, Q shows up to Picard. He has, as far as I could tell in the second episode, snapped his fingers to change the timeline because the timeline is changed. You can't say that he does it at the end and this is like a different out of order time storytelling or whatever, because at the end he dies. So he's already changed. The timeline has changed already. He snapped his fingers. Okay, forget it, whatever. He's angry, yelling at Picard. What is it you quoted earlier, Mark? I forget what he said, but he's like yelling at him and he's angry at him.
Oh, this is a penance.
Yeah, this is a penance. And then,
yeah.
Then he kind of forces Picard and the crew to go back in time, as he points out later. Oh, I didn't send them back in time; they went on their own. And so, okay, so they go back in time. He's there, even though his powers are fading. He had some powers to put himself back in time. And he is going out of his way to change the timeline, which I thought he had already changed, but I guess he hasn't. So now he has to physically change it. He can't just snap his fingers and change it. So he is, he got himself a job at NASA as a psychiatrist somehow. I don't know how that application process went, but he's now Renee Picard's psychiatrist. And he is trying to convince her to not go on the Europa mission. When that fails, he hires Brent Spiner to murder her. And then, hold on. So he hires Brent Spiner to murder her. And so he's trying desperately to keep her from going. He's also, at the same time, giving Brent Spiner the secret formula so he can create his genetic whatever, so that he can save the world and start the Confederation. So he's doing these two things at the same time, trying hard to change the timeline that I thought he already changed. And in the meanwhile, people die who didn't originally die. So like all those people got turned into Borg and they ended up killing, or that one dude that Girardi was dating or whatever, and they found him dead, didn't originally die. Q's killing people, causing people to die. Never mind Elnor, but I guess that's okay because he brings him back to life. If the timeline is changed, he's causing billions more people to die. He's trying really hard. He gets Picard run over by a car, although I guess that wasn't the intention. Does all of this so that he can teach Picard how to confront his trauma with his mother, and then Picard will give him a hug. I don't understand any of it. Like, so he did all of that to change the timeline, cause people to die, so that Picard could see, that his mother had mental health, and then he'll give him a hug. Like, what? I don't. What? If that was his goal, if his goal was for Picard to, face the fact that he gave his mother the key. I guess that's the thing. He gave his mother the key and she hung herself. That was the thing. Like, there's much more simplistic ways. Even if you want to turn them all into Robin Hood again or whatever, there's much more easier ways than changing the timeline and getting people killed. I don't know. It was just so convoluted. It's I think one of the most convoluted plots I've ever seen, and I still don't even really understand it. It's just nonsensical.
All right, so I want to address J. Kamen 99 in the chat says, I don't think he expected the hug. Yeah, but part of it is he wanted, as we're expected to believe in the finale, that he wanted Picard to acknowledge his, like, that they're good friends or whatever, that his intentions were, that he cares about him. You know, whether or not he was expecting a hug specifically is kind of beside the point. But that's what they're sort of telling us, that he's doing this for Picard's benefit because he cares about him. But yet, in the earlier episodes, we see him trying so hard to prevent Renee from going on this mission. And he blackmails, not just hires, but he blackmails Adam Soon, who who seemed to be a good guy until then, but then he turns into a mustache twirly villain all of a sudden, blackmails him into trying to murder her. And the whole time we see he thought he had his powers, and he's going like, "Ooh, don't go on the mission," ooh, like trying to like affect her mind. So what if this worked? What if all of his attempts, where he's obviously trying really hard to stop her from going, how did he know that she wouldn't? And so what if it worked? It would in fact change the future, and Picard would be fucked. So why does he care about him so much if he's actively trying to fuck up his future? Like it. All right. So the whole thing, it comes off as I said, someone different wrote the first 2 episodes, and other people came in and wrote the rest of it and did not make any attempt to sort of connect them or make it all make sense. Like, another thing someone else pointed out to me is that presumably in the modern day of TV making, which was different than like the 90s or whatever, you have the whole season, like all 10 episodes written before you start filming. So why was no one, a producer or anyone, came in to be like, to look at this and be like, this does not connect. These scripts you have do not like actually line up. You need to go rewrite it, because back in the 90s it's kind of excusable, because like, or even like in early 2000s, like Lost or whatever, because when you write something you think it looks cool, but then later you kind of change your mind and you change it a bit, and it doesn't always like line up. But here it's like someone could have seen that this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, exactly. I want to address the chat. J Cam 99. Did Q change the timeline in order to save Picard? Remember, he blows himself up, so Q has to change the timeline to resurrect him. Well, when he snapped his fingers and changed the timeline automatically. Sure, he saved him, and then he went back in time and tried to change the timeline again. I was so confused by that. He did save Picard by changing the timeline, so the timeline is already changed. So what the fuck is he doing in the past, trying to convince Renee Picard not to go on the Europa mission? It is gobbledygook. It makes no sense. It is
also, if you look at the time travel logic of it all,
oh my gosh, yeah.
They're conflating type 1 and type 2 time travel.
Yeah
Completely, because someone else pointed out that they've started to realize towards the end that none of this is making sense. So they try to course correct, like the whole thing with the butterflies and all the people who fucking died, and then Dorati going off and creating a different Borg. How that's gonna seriously fuck with the timeline. That they try to retroactively excuse it by saying, "Oh no, this is type 1 time travel now. All of a sudden, this is always meant to happen. Whatever happened. Those guys are always meant to die." Which, if it's time 1, why is there an alternate timeline? Because the alternate timelines are not possible in type 1 time travel. They're conflating the two.
Now, this drives me crazy. Anyone who's familiar with my previous reviews or anything that I've talked about when it comes to time travel, I talked about the Adam Project on one of my live chats that I did. Bad time travel logic is it's my pet peeve. While everyone else was saying, "Oh, I love the Adam Project," I was like, "Yeah, the characters were fine." The time travel logic drives me crazy. It makes no sense. So the time travel logic making sense is core to my enjoyment of any time travel story. And this was one of the worst messes of time travel logic that I have seen. I mean, I complained about the Adam Project. I've complained about Looper. There's a lot of films and shows that I've complained about the time travel logic. This is worse than all of them. This is one of the, I don't know if it's the worst one, but it is one of the worst nonsensical time travel logic things. Because you're exactly right. They're trying to conflate two different types of time travel logic. And if you're Star Trek, you have mostly stuck to type 2, except, in Time Zero, they also threw in a type 1 time travel thing too.
Or at least they were consistent for that one episode.
For that one episode, yeah. But Star Trek overall is type 2 time travel. And so Girardi shouldn't have already existed at the beginning of the season. Rios shouldn't have always been back in time. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
No. Does not. All right, so there's a couple things I wanted to bring up that I forgot to bring up in my review for the finale because there's so many things wrong. Project Con. I can't. How my eyes almost fell out of my head because I rolled them so hard when I saw that thing that said Project Con. That's supposed to, now this, because now we're going to see Sung is responsible for Khan, and this is actually supported in Strange New Worlds that they're pushing back the timeline for the Khan stuff. And some people speculated, they might have a Project Khan show or miniseries. I'm like, no, please, no, absolutely not. Apparently, Nicholas Meyer, the director of Star Trek II, wrote a really good, what he called good anyway, miniseries for Khan's time on City Alpha 2, but like a prequel to Star Trek II.
City Alpha 5.
City Alpha 5, I'm sorry. Yeah. This is City Alpha 5! But, and so make that. If you want to have Khan, okay, have the actual creative director of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, the best appearance of Khan, have him do something. Don't come up with this bullshit spinoff to this gobbledygook nonsense. All right. Well, any thoughts on that one? Project Khan.
I just didn't even want to talk about it. It was just, when I did my review, it was just one of those things like, yeah. I don't know what is their obsession with Khan now and the Noonien Singhs, and then they have that one character named Noonien Singh who's apparently the descendant of Khan, I guess, and Strange New Worlds. So for a while, their obsession was Kobayashi Maru. I guess they've switched over to Khan now. That's their new thing now that they're just gonna obsess over on all the Star Trek shows, and I just don't care.
All right, so Zaidi Lupid says, theoretically, you couldn't change the future as the act of traveling back in time itself would create an alternate reality on a separate timeline. Well, that's type 3 time travel. This is what I saw from this other YouTube channel, that there's different schools of time travel logic, where type 1 is whatever happened, you go back and you can't change the past because whatever you did was always meant to happen. Type 2 is there's one timeline, you go back and change it, you alter it, like Back to the Future, so you have to go back and fix it. And then type 3 is what they're doing, the Marvel stuff, and the Star Trek 2009, where if you change the timeline, then you create an alternate timeline. You have another separate universe that has that exists side by side. And I don't mind any show or movie, like they can pick which time travel logic they want to use, but they have to stick with it. Actually, the one show that pulled off all three was Dark. That actually, they did it because that's brilliant. They actually made it make sense too.
Yeah, actually, that is true. That is true.
But mostly, you got to pick one and you got to stick with it. Otherwise, it'll be normally outside of Dark. It would be gobbledygook nonsense like this.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
So Jay Kamen brings up Wesley Crusher. the funny thing is, I was rooting for Rashford Crusher to appear as a traveler, like in Picard, like before the season started. I was like, I want to see what they should have him come up. But this was kind of just like, let's just throw Will Wheaton in there for no reason. Let's have him come up to that Corey character. I don't know what to do with her. It all felt like a nonsense. It was just like had nothing to do with anything. Just
okay. So the Traveler had been. He took an interest in Wesley when he went to the Enterprise for the first time and told Picard, "Oh, he has this special talent for space and time and whatever." And then he kind of had an interest in him and followed him around and observed him. Corey, you're just like, hey, we got nothing else to do with your character. You just want to be a traveler for no reason. God, like, where did that come from?
And the whole thing at the time I was watching this scene, the whole thing I was thinking about was, why does she believe him? Like some random guy walks up and be like, hey, I'm going to take you through time and space. You're going to be like, whatever. Let's call the freaking, psych ward or something. Like, what? Why does she automatically take him at his word?
Yeah, and the thing that really got me, I pointed out in my review, is that's not what the Travelers are. He made it sound like they're a group of superheroes that, like, they're the, they're the Illuminati from Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, where they are protecting the timeline or something, and I'm like, that's not what they are. That's never. I mean, I don't remember precisely if it was ever really explained. I mean, the Traveler, he just is something that exists outside of our normal understanding of space and time, and we never really understood what they are. But they definitely weren't some kind of superhero team of time travel defenders. Like, that was just not at all what they are. And it just everything about this scene was just did not fit with anything, and it made no sense. It was just a reason to put Will Wheaton on it to play himself. He wasn't even playing Wesley exactly like he acts in the Ready Room.
Yeah, and I said that in my review too. I was like, the Travelers aren't there as the protectors of the universe. They travel. That's what they do.
That's why they're called the Travelers, because they travel. They don't protect anything.
Oh my god. All right, so Will Ferrell #1 in the chat points out Quentin Tarantino wanted to direct Star Trek, and I'm very disappointed that he won't, because I trust that. Now, if it's totally different or if it defies whatever Star Trek is, I'd be okay with it, because Quentin Tarantino is a masterful director, writer. It would make sense in that one standalone movie, and I'm disappointed that he won't be able to do that. I really wanted to see it, personally, because he knows how to write, unlike the people for this show. Like, I don't care if it's totally different as long as like it's a good crafted story with good characters. But anyway, the other thing I wanted to bring up that I forgot to mention in my review for the finale was the whole space tunnel corridor thing that apparently Jurati and her Borg friends are now going to be the protectors of. Like, what the hell is that?
At that point in the episode, I was kind of checked out. Like, I just didn't care anymore. It's like they could do anything. They could have a dragon fly out of there, and I wouldn't care.
Really, honestly, they're just throwing shit at the wall now. Like,
yeah, it just didn't. I was like, is this almost over yet? Like, that's where I was at that point of the episode.
It seems like they were setting up for season 3 storyline, but we know that Jurati's not going to be.
Yeah. Alison Pill's not coming back, or she had to come back. They already filmed it, and she said she wasn't in it.
Yeah, and obviously, the way season 1 ended, it felt like they were setting up for season 2, but they just disregarded that and did something totally different. All right, I want to talk about the Borg Queen, because this is one thing I think you were kind of okay with earlier
I
on.
was earlier on, but I wasn't at the end. So we're probably on the same page with it now. Like, I was hoping for something, but then it was like, it just made so little sense in the end. Like, I thought it would have been a cool idea if they pulled it off and it made sense, but it didn't. So we're not in disagreement here, if that's
okay. I don't know, but yeah, I was never okay with the Borg Queen. Queen. Like their whole storyline with Jurati just seemed cheesy to me, just because I don't like the Borg Queen as a character, and I just think the bullshit with her taking over Jurati's body, like I could not care less about, and her eating car batteries and killing random people in the street.
Who now will not go on to live their original life, or the kids they might have had, or nobody gives a shit about it. But anyways, that's a separate thing.
I just don't get like the whole start of the season, like, oh, we gotta watch out for butterflies. Ooh, we gotta be careful. And then at the end of the season, they're killing a bunch of people. Like they just killed like dozens of people who aren't supposed to die.
Yeah, and butterflies don't matter anyway because Rios can just stay back in time, and that always happened. So Gannon always had a picture of him.
And the one thing I heard most people complaining about is Jurati going off with the new Borg to start a new Borg like that. They're saying that is like a dragon, not a butterfly. It's like a massive, massive change that could alter the entire course of history.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess they just laid low and did nothing because the way that I read it, I mean, that is the Borg we know with the Borg Queen from First Contact and Voyager still exists because this was the Borg Queen that originated in the Confederation timeline that then merged with Jurati and then existed for 400 years. So I guess they were just kind of like doing nothing and waiting for 400 years, waiting for that one moment where they could go up to Picard and want to join the Federation. Because, I mean, it seems like their very existence would, yeah, you're right, not just a butterfly, but a dragon would have just severely altered the timeline just by their existence. And how did they exist before Q changed the timeline? Because it's all of a sudden it's type 2 time travel, or type 1 rather, where whatever happened. It makes no sense. It just makes no sense.
All right, so I think when I did I did a video earlier this year, the top 10 worst things the Star Trek franchise has ever done. And I had things like the Enterprise theme song and, the makeup change for the Discovery Klingons, and like Star Trek 2009 fucking with the timeline. But Jurati singing a song and just walking up on stage in the spotlight person, and then the band starts playing the song from some random guest at the thing, that definitely cracks my top 3 worst things that the Star Trek franchise has ever.
For sure. Yeah, that is up there for sure. That was when I think prior to that episode, I was still clinging to a very, very thin sliver of hope that they could turn it around. But that was the jump the shark moment.
Yes.
For me. That was the absolute jump the shark moment. I was like, oh, no, never mind. Never mind. There's no sliver of hope.
No, me too. Like, I thought this show might be good up to, but that was the point where I realized that the season was going to be nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, I think the phrase "jump the shark" gets overused a lot. I think I've heard people use it a lot for things that they don't like, but are actually objectively good. Yeah. But I think that is a true jump the shark moment. Like that is what a jump the shark is defined as the moment where there's no going back. Like it's crap from here on out.
Now here's the thing. Like, I actually like that version of the song. Like that was a good. Like if I didn't know to watch the show and someone played me that version of the song, I was like, that's a cool version of the song. But that has nothing to do with why. Like the quality of the song is completely irrelevant, and it's the same when I'm saying with the Enterprise thing, because so many people are like, oh, you just have terrible taste in music. But I don't actually hate that song that much. It's just the context of how they use it in Star Trek is what makes it so terrible, and it's the same thing here.
So, Mark, JC Cameron 99 says, so Vic Fontaine is better than Agnes singing. Where's the ranking there?
I agree. Yes, I will say yes.
I'm gonna say no because Agnes singing was one scene, and Vic Fontaine, I had to suffer him way too many times.
Okay, yeah, I suppose. Like if you put it,
And he like comes in and craps all over the otherwise brilliant Deep Space Nine series finale.
All right, let me put it this way: Vic Fontaine as a whole is worse because yes, it was more consistent than just one scene. But if you take any one scene of Vic and compare it to that, Durrati is worse.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. Like I was thinking, like the one I think is the absolute worst is at the end of that Bada Bang episode where he's singing a duet with Captain Sisko. Like that's awful. It's so bad. But the Durrati thing tops it.
Okay.
Let's see. There's a soundtrack that exists in this season that features Alison Pill singing Pat Benatar. Was that actually Alison Pill?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Oh, is it?
It was her singing. Yeah,
I didn't think it was.
Yeah, no, I heard that it was her.
All right. Well. So, what else do we want to talk about with this season?
This is not a huge thing, but it's a thing that I thought of earlier when we were talking about the characters, and I was talking about Talon. I am just really bothered by her plot convenient abilities, like that. Oh, Picard's in a coma. Hey, guess what? I have this ability to go into his mind. And oh, I know we need to save Renee Picard. Oh, well, now I have the Black Widow thing from the MCU where like if they may as well just have had her go up to Renee Picard and go up to a window and say, okay, let's go out this window. I'm going to fly you out of here. I can fly now. I mean, that wouldn't have been any more ridiculous than any of the other, like all of a sudden she has these plot convenient abilities. And we know nothing about this character except she's vaguely related to Gary Seven in some way. And I think it might have been implied that the Travelers were her boss. I wasn't sure that like Jesse Ginger takes that as fact that that's what it is
really
that Wesley Crusher is like in charge of the Gary Seven people, and I wasn't sure. I thought they maybe were trying to imply that, but I was like, is that what they're trying to say? I didn't get it. But we know nothing about these Gary Seven people, and they're just so contrived. It's just I have this plot convenient ability now.
Well, the whole season was a mess. It's like impossible to make sense out of it.
Yeah.
Out of anything. But yeah, no, everything about the character of Talon was terrible. The fact that she looks just like Lars for no fucking reason, because again, like great granddaughter of Alyssa, every fucking ancestor looks exactly like you because that's totally how genetics work. And the fact that she's the Gary Seven, you bringing up that as a fucking reference, like that's something that should be thrown away and forgotten and never mentioned ever again. That whole fucking episode.
The fact that her ears could go back and forth between round and pointy.
Well, she was using her Black Widow technology to do
I guess that's what it was. Because she was like, oh, no, I'm running, and pulled her hair back as if they were hiding behind her hair the whole time. No, they weren't. I saw them. They were round. It's nonsensical. Everything's nonsensical. And we can, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, I'm just going to move on to something else. These circular plots that go nowhere, like all of it, they could have not only, could this been, written better, and it would have been better if, the same person wrote them all, but I think you still could have cut out like 4 episodes at least. So at the beginning of the season, Rio, Seven, and Raffi leave La Sorrento, and we're like, okay, we're going to go find the highest ground. We're going to go up to this tower. We're going to use our cell phone. Or I guess their tricorder or whatever, and we're going to find the Watcher. That was their mission. And instead they get sidetracked with this Rios getting arrested by ICE, and they have to bust them out. Then they go back to the La Sorrento, and they never found the Watcher. Picard found the Watcher. So what was the point of any of that? And there's so many, like every plot was like that. Like it just circles back around, like Picard and Guinan, like randomly getting arrested by Fox Mulder wannabe, and then they get released, and then are back to where they were before that happened. What was the point? Like, everything was like that. There was no point to anything.
Yeah, no, it gets back to what I was saying about how stuff just happens, that it doesn't connect to A to B. It's just, this is the next thing that happens, and this is the next thing that happens. It has nothing to do with anything. It's just stuff happening for no reason. That's not connected. Doesn't add anything to the characters of the story. And as someone even put it, like someone asked me about the plot in this season. I'm like, plot? What plot? Like, there's no plot. Yeah, in the chat, Norman Buckwell says ICE and FBI can easily be cut. And so can a lot of things.
I think the whole purpose of the ICE thing was just to introduce Rios to this doctor lady that he can fall in love with and end up spending eternity with or whatever. That was the whole reason for okay, if you want to have that character, there'd be much simpler ways to do it than to have this needless
Well,
plot.
yeah, I mean, he met her and then ICE came in. So you don't even need ICE to come in.
Yeah, you don't need ICE in there at all. That's true. You don't need any of that.
And yeah, and the FBI, someone pointed out in the chat, oh yeah, Salvos, that's the same actor who played the time travel agent from Voyager, and saying, "No, why didn't they connect these?" I'm like, I don't know. That whole character was such a waste of time.
So when it's been a while since I've watched Enterprise and watched Carbon Street. Were they trying to say that those are the same characters, or what were they trying to say? The Vulcans, yeah.
Yeah, I thought about that, but I think I think I mentioned this in my review that the timeline doesn't quite match up because
I heard some reviews say that he would have to be in his 80s or something for that to work.
It did, yeah. The Enterprise stuff was the 50s, and this is 2024. So yeah, he would have to be in his 70s at least. Or no, if he was like 5 years old, yeah, he would have to be nearly 80, and clearly he's not.
Yeah, so these are different Vulcans who I don't know.
They're just throwing all this, and it's funny because, and I mentioned this before about how they're throwing in all these references to other episodes, like this episode 2 where Q name drops. I think he only name drops 2 episodes, but titles, but still, they're like referencing like Goldie Cod and other shit, but yet they act like Time's Error never fucking happened, like. And there's other like Star Trek stuff that they just act like never happened. It's
but Gary 7 happened. Assignment Earth happened. Yeah. We know that happened.
Yeah, and especially that really bothered me. It bothered me in the Guinan episode, and the fact that her character was not acting like Guinan in the slightest. In Time Zero, in the 18th, was the 19th century, she was acting just like Guinan, like she was the same character.
No.
And it bothered me at the end of the season where Guinan was like, "Oh yes, I knew all this all along, and I had to keep it hidden from you." I was like, that sounds familiar because that's the exact same thing you said in Time's Arrow.
Yeah, I knew all this all along and I had to keep it hidden from you, but I didn't know about Time's Arrow because that hasn't happened anymore. Yeah. Now, somebody, I forget who it was, a review, or maybe something I read after that episode came out. I think it's something I read. That after that episode came out, they were trying to like do mental gymnastics to explain that, and like, oh, it's because they changed the timeline, and so the Federation timeline no longer exists. Therefore, that Jean-Luc Picard didn't exist to go back in time for Time's Arrow.
That is like some real like headcanon trying to justify was just clearly bad writing. Yeah.
I mean, I like that actress that they got. She just wasn't playing Guinan. Like that wasn't.
Yes. Yeah. There was nothing wrong with the actress. I didn't mind their recasting her, but yeah, the way that it was written, like a lot of the actors. I don't think there's any bad actors in this show. They're good actors. They were just given crap to do.
Yeah.
And yeah, someone else mentioned the fact how they blew all their money on special effects, so they couldn't afford to hire new actors, so they just brought back the same actors. characters. And and the whole Elnor thing, like there's a whole disconnect from the first 2 episodes of this. Well, like, why did they bother killing him off? I guess they didn't want to bother having him in the bulk of the season. But then it's okay because Q decides to be nice and bring him back to life. And he's not going to be in season 3.
He's not going to be in season 3. Yeah.
I'm actually, because I will defend season 1 of Picard. It's not the best season. I have my issues, a lot of issues with it. It's a mixed bag at best, but I still say it is at the very least a 7 out of 10. I will defend season 1 of Picard because a lot of, even though some of it was jumbled and bullshit, but a lot still worked. A lot of the character stories worked. So I think I kind of take issue with people who were saying this is another bad season of Picard. This is way worse. Yeah. I think because Picard season 1 actually set up and Elnor is a great character. I was like, I can't wait to see more of this character. Set up Soji is an interesting character. I can't wait to see more of her. And then this season just this shit's all over them and does nothing with it.
Yeah, and then most of those characters aren't even going to be back next year. So what was the point of them at all? They were never really developed. Rios is gone. We know Girardi is gone, and Elnor is gone for sure. And Issa Briones isn't coming back. So no Soji or Corey or any of those.
So, someone in the chat mentioned earlier that we can just assume Soji's still hanging out, drinking water with the Daltons.
I guess.
Yeah, and they set up, and I wasn't a fan of this, but they set up this whole like threat of this evil AI from another universe that wants to destroy the universe. But let's just disregard that. Which, to be fair, I don't mind if they disregard that.
Yeah. Well, I had my heart set on them. They were going to make some kind of connection between that and Control from Discovery.
Oh, right.
And they didn't.
Yeah.
I just wanted there to be some purpose for that thing, but there didn't end up being any reason for it. And then we're going to have season 3, and it's going to be another disjointed season from the other 2.
I'm not looking forward to season 3. I think I was telling Brandon earlier that I will be astonished if season 3 is not a total shit show as well.
Yeah. Yeah, again... pointing out something I heard Steve Shive say. He was saying that, great, they're getting all the Next Generation cast back. Why should it's the same writers? Why should I be excited for this? I think the counter argument for that is that although he's pointing out that the way that they use Q and Guinan, it was like, ooh, look, it's Q and Guinan, and didn't do anything with them, so they would probably do that with the Next Generation cast. The counter argument is Episode 8 of season 1 with Riker and Troy was really good. And the scene with Data at the end of season 1 was really good. So they have shown that they're capable of treating the Next Generation original characters with some care. So I could hope that they do that again. But it still doesn't change the fact that all the characters that we met in the first 2 seasons that'll be gone and just were never developed. It was just kind of no point to them. Like they're just a lot of, especially with Elnor, a lot of wasted potential. Like a lot of wasted potential with that character.
Well, for me, the whole thing isn't so much as how they treat legacy characters. It's more of, I think legacy characters are irrelevant. It's if the writing is of the same quality as this season is, it's going to suck no matter who's in it. They would have to go back to the quality of season 1, and since this was filmed pretty much, they did like a Back to the Future thing and pretty much filmed these side by side, so that really leads me to believe that it's going to suck just as bad.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I was saying. I think if it was season 1 quality, it could be good.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, that is worrisome.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm saying is I'm not so much worried about how they're going to treat legacy characters. For me, it's more of, I think whether legacy characters or not is irrelevant. The writing is what's relevant.
But I am talking about the writing here. Are they going to write the legacy characters like they did in season 1, or are they going to write the legacy characters like they did in season 2?
Yeah.
I
I mean,
mean,
yes, that is the important
it
thing.
is about the writing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Norman Buckwald, if it wasn't in the can, I'd say quick, drag the writing staff and then drug the writing staff and then have Ron Moore rewrite the scripts while they're asleep.
I don't know. Ronald D. Moore,
Yeah,
he did participate in that what the hell's what we leave behind
season 8.
the documentary where they did the season 8. That was terrible.
Yes.
Like I was like, I'm so glad that they never produced that. That was I don't know. And he was a part of that too.
To be fair, that definitely was a first draft.
Yeah, it definitely was a first draft, but
I was thinking that I would hope that, because if you think some of these ideas of like great episodes like In the Pale Moonlight, if you look at the first draft, they look awful and they were totally different.
Yeah.
So for that, I would hope, since those are like good DS9 writers, that they would eventually make it not suck so much if they had other drafts.
Yeah.
But Ronald D. Moore is not perfect either, because he does have a tendency to retcon things like Battlestar Galactica, and he did it with with Bashir becoming genetically enhanced all of a sudden. But he would definitely be better than this Picard current writing staff, I will at least say. But anyone would and they killed Nog. I have no problem with that.
Since Aaron Eisenberg is dead anyways. So it was before that, I know, but it would have worked out for them. But
I never liked Nog anyway, so I don't have
that wasn't the least. That was like the least of my worries with that.
No, it's like making Dr. Bashir the head of Section 31, and they're trying the Federation. They're trying to erase all religion and force atheism on everyone. Like, what the fuck is this shit? Like,
and Kira turning evil too.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a lot of high hopes for season 3 either. I can just like watch it and just wish that it is better than season 2, but I don't have a lot of high hopes.
Yeah, Brandon, I know you like Nog. I know a lot of people do. I still don't. I don't care. I never liked him. And consistently writing, people were like, "Oh no, he just grew up and changed when he was adolescent." No, it's not the same character from earlier seasons. I cannot buy that in any way. But anyway, he's always annoying. Anyway, I'm sorry. Anything this whole shit show, dumpster fire.
Oh, your camera is going.
Oh, fuck.
Your picture's going.
You can still hear me, okay, right?
Yeah, now I can kind of see you.
Nah, that's the wrong camera.
Oh, the wrong camera. Okay.
I'll just whatever. Yeah. So anything else on this piece of shit?
There's so much. There's so much, but I don't know if I have anything else that I need to talk about. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought there was something else, but all right. So I really wanted to ask, because I said in my video that I felt like this was bar none the worst season in the entire Star Trek franchise. Is that something you agree with?
No, because to me, it's an apples and oranges question. Like, I don't know how to compare a 10-episode serialized season to a 26-episode episodic season. Like, they're two different things to me. If I were asked to compare it, then I would put all of my most hated seasons of the previous track as worse than this, because I always think of it as, when I'm ranking whatever my worst is, what would be the most painful to sit through again? And so, since it's only 10 episodes, easy. Picard, it was only 10 episodes, not 25 episodes where 23 of them suck, which is what I feel about some of the worst episodes of previous track. So to me, a more accurate comparison is, what is the worst 10 episode or fewer serialized show in the modern era, or season of serialized show. And for that, I would have it number 2 behind Game of Thrones. Season 8 would be number 1. Game of Thrones season 7 would be number 3. With Picard as my number 2. That I can make it, my brain can compare those more easily because they're 10 episode serialized seasons. I don't know how to compare it to the 25 episode episodic seasons. So I have a hard time with that. And I know that a lot of people have, besides you. I think Norman mentioned it in the chat earlier, or someone mentioned in the chat that it's the worst season of Star Trek. I can't compare it. It's apples and oranges to me. So that's how I feel about it.
I don't know. I can compare it, and I kind of, the way I look at it is, actually they are different because Picard season 2 tells one story, but the way I look at it, I actually see that as a negative, because with something like Enterprise season 2 or TNG season 1, there might be horrible seasons, but they have some decent episodes in there, some standalone episodes that work, but there's nothing that works in Picard season 2.
Yeah, but it's only 10 episodes. Whereas for me, some of my least favorite episodes, I'm thinking TNG season 1, and I'm thinking, I know you just did your review on this and you don't totally agree with me, but TOS season 3 for me is another one. There are more bad episodes in those seasons than there are in Picard, because Picard's only 10, and those seasons have more than 10. Really, really, really horrible, poorly written episodes. And I feel... So for me, it would be, okay, I can't have Enterprise in it yet because I have to rewatch it. So Enterprise put aside. For me, it goes TNG season 1, TOS season 3, and Voyager season 6 and 7, because I suffered getting through season 6 and 7. And I think about it, there was like 50 or 52 episodes in those 2 seasons. One was a great episode. One was my number 3 episode of Voyager, Blink in the Eye. The rest of them, if I was extremely, extremely lucky, I might get something average, if just something mediocre, just for a breath of fresh air. But everything else was so horrible, and it was so hard to get through those 2 seasons. So I would, if I had the choice, I would watch Picard again before I watch those seasons.
Oh, really?
Because there's more bad episodes than
10. If I was giving it, would I rather, like, would you rather watch season 1 of TNG in its entirety or Picard season 2 in its entirety? I would choose TNG. I don't care that it's longer. At least there's some good episodes in it. There's nothing good about Picard season 2.
But there are more bad episodes than 10. So you have to watch more really bad episodes than 10.
I mean, that's fair.
That's just watch 10 and it's over. And the first one wasn't that bad, as we've talked about. The first one.
Well, yeah, but it is bad.
Really only 9 really bad episodes.
Like, the end of it ruins it, though. Yeah. It doesn't. The bad of season 1 of TNG doesn't ruin the good because they're standalone.
Yeah, well, we've knocked it down from an 8 or a 9 to like a 5 or a 6. It's still like not horrible.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. That's just my way of looking at it. I think I ranked it in my video, but yeah, Picard season 2 is the worst. Enterprise, then it goes Enterprise season 2, then Enterprise season 1, then Voyager season 3, which I know we disagree on, and then TNG season 1, and then TNG season 2. That's how I'd put it. Yeah. Because, yeah, even, like, there's nothing, like, even though the first episode, it could have been good, there's really, to me, there's nothing redeemable about it.
I don't know. I just always base it off which one would I want to watch, which one would I want to binge. Like, if somebody offered me $1 million and said, you have to watch one of these seasons, easy, no brainer, I'll watch 10 episodes of Picard and be done. So that's...
Honestly, I'd rather sit through a 25 episodes bad season than that.
I think you're saying that because Picard is fresher in your memory than one of those seasons.
Well, yeah. I mean, I just watched TOS season 3, but we already said that.
But you're not on the same level with that. I'm talking about like your Voyager season 3 or your Enterprise season 2.
Yeah, that's true. It has been a little while since I had to sit through those, but I don't know. I know, because even Enterprise season 2 had a couple good episodes. There were like 2 or 3 really good episodes in there.
Yeah, and then 23 bad ones instead of 10 bad ones.
But here's the thing: those 23 bad ones, most of them were just boring. Whereas Picard is a clusterfuck that is just frustrating, and it's more offensive than just being boring.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's just, Because again, it's serialized versus episodic. To me, it makes more sense in my brain to compare it to other serialized shows, and that measure, as I said, it's second worst only to Game of Thrones season 8.
Well, all right, that's an apple and oranges situation, because I would say standalone Picard season 2 is worse, but it's not if I take into account how great the show is and how much it fucking fell because of that final piece of shit season. Then I would have to say, okay, then Game of Thrones season 8's worse.
No, I'm talking standalone. I'm just talking as a single season, as a standalone season. It was awful.
I would say Picard season 2 is worse.
Yeah, well, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. I'd see that, but that's more of a comparison that makes sense to me more.
Brandon says Enterprise does creepy really well. Okay. Okay. I don't know about that. You mean that one with all the zombie Vulcans? That was just silly. But anyway. I don't know if that was creepy. And it had all the shaky cam because it was filmed in the early 2000s. But anyway, all right, I guess we can go ahead and end this discussion here. Oh, but we do agree, like I think you mentioned this earlier, that this is by far worse than any newer Star Trek season. Like anything
not even close.
Since Discovery season 1 came out. Like anything since then.
It's not even remotely close.
Yeah, it's not even remotely close.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm shocked, like how some people were acting like all the first 4 seasons of Discovery and the first season of Picard and the first 2 seasons of Lower Decks were like this season. They were like, oh, nothing's worse than that. Any previous Star Trek season's better than this crap. But I'm like, I don't know how you see it, because I don't think those seasons are great. I had a lot of issues with particularly Discovery. You know, I'm more negative than that than you, but that doesn't even come close to how terrible this season is.
Yeah. I mean, there are bad seasons in the new Trek. There were bad seasons in the old Trek.
Yeah, Brandon, you're talking about the self-repairing space station. Yeah, that was kind of creepy, but it was also cheesy. But anyway, Alyssa, you'll experience all this when you
I have. I don't have to, but it's my last Star Trek show that I need to binge. I've binged all the other ones, even the animated series. This is the only one left. So,
well, I mean, that's how I felt about the original series. Like, I didn't really want to do it. I was like, oh, I guess I got to do it because I did everything else. I mean, Enterprise for me was a bit easier to get through than the original series just because I hadn't seen it as much. Yeah. Where I had already seen the original series so many times. And
I know it had been years and years and years since I'd seen a lot of the original series. A lot of it was things I hadn't seen in 20 years.
Oh, not for me. I've seen it more recently than that. Yeah. Okay, we'll argue. Brandon, argue on the Discord. Okay, so we can go ahead and end this discussion here. Both our ratings for this show is a negative 285. So what are you up to on your channel, and where can people find you?
Well, you can find me on Alyssa Jean's Reviews. Please go check me out over there. I am no longer doing reviews for Star Trek Picard, thank God, but I am doing weekly reviews for Star Trek Strange New Worlds. I try to get them out Thursday evening-ish for West Coast time. So I will get my review for that out tomorrow evening. So please check that out. And I'm also reviewing... in the realm of Star Trek, I'm also reviewing the films. So I have once a month, I'm doing one of the original 6 Star Trek films. And I've gone up to Star Trek 4, and coming up in a couple weeks, I will be answering the philosophical question: what does God need with a starship?
I was thinking you're having bad luck. You have to go from Picard to Star Trek 5.
Yeah. So my plan is, and also this Saturday, I know Brandon and Maddie and Norman will be there. I do a live chat discussion where I just kind of talk about whatever random topics that I want to talk about, and I usually drink a bottle of wine. I'm going to drink at least one bottle of wine and then maybe a little more, because what I'll be doing is priming myself up to watch Star Trek 5 later that night. So I need to get just toasted so that I can stand watching Star Trek 5. But anyways, my channel, I cover Star Trek. I will be covering Obi-Wan weekly as well. I've got MCU stuff. I just did a review for Doctor Strange. I got all kinds of fun stuff on my channel. Come on over and check it out.
Cool. And if you're finding me for the first time, my name is Mark. My channel is Enchantment of Eternity. I do reviews on all sorts of Star Trek, reviewing retro reviews of random previous episodes from older Trek, covering strange new worlds every week. Oh, thank God, a good Star Trek show. Such a relief. Also covering Better Call Saul, another amazing show to cleanse my palate, covering that weekly. And watching Star Wars Rebels, going through each season. My season 1 review will come out later this month. I just dropped my season 3 review for Star Trek, the original series. Star Trek, the original series. And I just did recorded reviews for Moon Knight and the show Undone. If you haven't heard of that show, watch it. It's awesome, which I will be dropping on my channel next in the coming weeks as well. So be sure to keep out for all of that. And anyway, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you later. Have a good night. This is a penance! Give me a hug.